Michael Feldstein, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yo, it's great to have you. We became acquainted some time ago, and we got to hang out most recently at our mutual friend Jim Quick's event, which was incredible. And I'm excited to have you on the show because air quality is such an important topic, and it's not a topic that we've covered enough, I think, on the show. And I'm excited to have an air quality expert such as yourself come in and teach us all the ways for improving air quality. One of the things that I think is so important about air quality is that it does silently affect health. And improving air quality is one of the more passive and high impact ways to improve your health. So let's just dive straight in. What are the biggest sources of indoor air pollution that most people never think about?
The biggest sources of pollution, indoor air pollution, that most people think about, that most people never think about. So the first thing to think about is just to know that indoor air is 5 to 10 times dirtier than outdoor air. So outdoor air is generally pretty good, unless you're in a polluted city like this one. Outdoor air, even here, outdoor air is way better than indoor air because you got the sun, you got the wind, you got the rain, you have the trees. Nature's air filter is doing its job. The problem is when we build these homes so incredibly tight that we trap everything in. So to sort of like frame the situation that we're in is if you think about what water is to fish, air is to people. And if you think about a flowing river or a stream or a creek, when the water is flowing, it's generally quite clean. It's literally filtering itself. When that water gets stagnant, like in a pond, that's when you get the algae and the bacteria and the mosquitoes, and that's when the water is really problematic. It can make you sick. So if you think about the air outside, you go outside, you feel the wind blowing on your skin. The air is flowing, it is constantly being cleaned and purified by nature. You come inside, your home is like a pond where the air is just not flowing and it's trapped inside. And to make it worse, it's a pond filled with thousands of chemicals because you got your drywall, you got your paints, you got your floors, your skincare, your cosmetics, your candles, your fragrances, all the stuff, the cooking, trapped inside. So it's like having a trapped pond or a pool and then dumping a bunch of stuff in there and then putting the fish in or swimming in it and be like, you know, if your kid fell into one of those dirty ponds, you would like yank them out and go shower them and clean them off. But most people's babies are sleeping in their little indoor ponds of air. So it's just like important to like zoom out a little bit and like look at the situation because it's really a problem of being indoors too much, building homes too tightly, and then having a bunch of toxic products in the home and then not doing anything about it.
Wow.
So I'll get into the specifics, but water, for example, water is horrible too. Like if you just drink straight city water, the amount of chemicals and chlorine and the hardness of water, it's terrible. But like, it's not really the city's fault. They're getting like millions of gallons of water a day that they need to treat to not kill you from bacteria. There's no like elegant solution to really do that on such scale in highly dense cities. So the water comes into your house through a pipe. The nice thing about water is you can put a whole home water filter system on. You could put it at the sink. You could put it at the shower. Water is straightforward. It comes right through a little tube, pipe, so it's easy to filter it wherever you need at the source. Air is sneaky. It's coming in through the doors, the windows, the attics, the cracks. And because of that, filtering it and cleaning it is a lot different. But most of the people that are listening to your show likely are paying attention to the food that they're eating. It's probably quite clean. They're probably paying attention to the water they're drinking. But while they're drinking 2 or 3 liters or a gallon of water a day, and they're breathing 15,000 liters of water, 15,000 liters of air, almost 20,000 breaths a day. So you're taking in way more toxin and pollutants through your lungs by breathing it in, and people don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, and today, I mean, we're spending, 90% of our time indoors?
That's in a nice climate. In the summer, try in the winter in the Northeast. It's like you walk to your car and that's about it. It's probably like 99% of your time. So the stuff in your home, that's problematic. And the good thing is we're not here to scare you today. We're here to shed light and awareness on one of the easiest, laziest, most passive ways to improve your health. And there's a number of ways to do it. So let's zoom in a little bit more to what are the problems in a home. So we have cooking indoors with no ventilation. So I'm gonna do problems and quick tips, free tips and solutions at the same time. So instead of naming all the problems and then going by all the solutions, as I state an issue, I will suggest a solution for it that doesn't require any money that you can do today.
Very helpful.
Okay, so bringing shoes indoors, not a good idea. If you are gonna do that, you should have a dedicated pair of indoor shoes or slippers. When you test shoes, 95% of shoes have fecal matter on them. Fancy word for poop. And I imagine the glyphosate percentage is at least as high. So your shoes are outside, tracking up all the stuff outside, and then you're walking through your house on your carpets, on your floors. It doesn't stay on the shoe. It's being spread around your environment. If you have kids, if you have pets, and just as you're walking, that's kicking up into the air constantly. So like number one, don't do that. Cooking. Range hoods, I'll use the word range hood and vent interchangeably, but it's the thing above your stove that's supposed to vent the air outside. So cooking is actually a massive polluter of indoor air. It's the number one by far. So even if you're cooking grass-fed, grass-finished steak with avocado oil and beef tallow and all the stuff, it's the fats and the heats that create a chemical reaction. So there's something called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons and a bunch of other things that we would test for after wildfires, which, by the way, I don't know if you do an intro later, but my background is mold remediation, flood, and fire. So I was used to cleaning up heavily toxic environments.
Wow.
And then it's pretty surprising to see a normal home and like cleaning up after a mold or a fire or a flood. Like regular homes are not that much better. They're in pretty bad shape. So when you cook, the PAH and also hexavalent chromium, these are the types of things that are being created when you're cooking that are getting, and where do they go if they're not venting outside? In your carpets, in your bedding, in your drywall, in your furniture, in your clothing, on your pillows. All the porous materials are just sucking it all up and it stays trapped in your home. So venting, the range hoods, they work pretty good some of the time. So you want those vents to be going outside of your home. Now, people can do this test at home. Take a paper towel or a tissue, turn on that vent, and make sure it's actually pulling the tissue up. Because if it's not pulling air. And then if it is, let's make sure that see where it's venting to. A lot of the times, especially in rentals and apartments, they build very cheap. And it's actually just venting into the cabinet right above the oven.
Wow.
Into the wall, sometimes into the attic, which is better. But then if the attic's not venting outside, you're dumping all that moisture up there and then you get a moldy attic. So, but oftentimes there's no ventilation and people aren't even using their range hoods. So you can also open your doors and your window, but if you're cooking indoors, your home has to be breathing at that time. So we got the shoes, we got the cooking, and then you've probably covered it at pretty good lengths, but using better oils, using better cleaning products, non-toxic cleaning products, soaps, fragrances. Don't burn candles inside or incense. If you want to burn candles, really good quality beeswax candles with a really good wick, like a hemp wick or a wood wick, they actually don't pollute the air at all. In fact, they clean the air. So there are good alternatives. I love candles. You just have to get the good ones. So those are
the good ones, meaning it has a good wick, or is it more
beeswax?
about the wax?
It's the wax itself. But if you have the good wax with like a crappy wick, then the wick is still off gassing. And when you actually put out the candle is when you do a lot of the polluting. So never blow out any candle inside. Either you can cover it, but that's when I always take my candles outside to put them out. That's when you get the black smoke. So that's just like simple little tips. And
what about fragrances and candles?
Oh man, the worst. Fragrances in general are the worst. This is probably the number one thing we should be talking about. So I believe that synthetic fragrances are the new secondhand smoke, because secondhand smoke was like the greatest marketing campaign of all time, because it used to be socially acceptable to smoke outside, inside, on planes. And if you would complain, you were the annoying one telling other people to mind your own business. Then they did a little more research, a little more science, and realized, whoa, the secondhand smoke is impacting me just as much or more than you. I'm not even sucking it through a filter. So now you realize what secondhand smoke did. It angered the mothers, basically, to say, you're killing my baby, so this is not a you thing anymore, so I won't go to that business anymore. So the term secondhand smoke galvanized people to make smoking a we problem and not a me problem or a you problem. And then, look how things changed, because people started voting with their feet and not going to places that smelled like smoke. And then regulations came along. But even if regulations didn't come along, it was just really an awareness thing. If this is bad and we smell it, let's not go into those environments. So synthetic fragrances, you'll love this. So like the word fragrances covers thousands of different chemicals, first of all. The air fragrance industry in America is a little over 7 billion. The air filtration industry is only about 3.5 billion. So people are spending twice as much money to pollute their air than to clean their air. And these fragrances, what they do is, Febreze or Glade or whatever, it doesn't clean the thing. You got that hockey bag or your basketball gym bag and you spray it so it doesn't smell anymore. No. All you're doing is you're hijacking your olfactory system so you can't smell anymore. It binds to the receptors in your nose, and then you just smell that stuff instead of the other thing. Not a good idea. So my prayer when I eat is smelling my food slowly and closely, and then your mouth starts to salivate, because if you have the fragrances in the environment, your gut has no idea what food's coming in. And your sense of smell is a big deal. So if your gut can't produce the correct enzymes, it's supposed to know what's coming in. Enzymes get ready to absorb the nutrients and break down the food. Those fragrances are really impacting your gut. They're massively disrupting your endocrine system. So all those chemicals and fragrances are like the first order of business. Because, I'd love to say filtration is the answer for everything. It's not. Not bringing these fragrances and these chemicals into the space at the first time is like the most important thing. So we got fragrances, we got cleaning products, we got cooking, we got shoes, we got candles. That's a good place to start.
Yeah, super. I mean, I think people think of your nose as being this receptor for pleasantries, but it's really a survival mechanism. I mean, the nose, for one, is the front door to the brain. But as you alluded to, I mean, smelling food begins digestive processes. I mean, there's the cephalic phase of digestion. It gets like insulin fired up, digestive juices and the like. So it completely...
Preach. What else you got?
Well, it just stands to reason that scent is information, and all scents are particulate. And so when you're inhaling through your nose various particles, that some can be benign, some could potentially be beneficial, and some can be potentially harmful.
So some of our senses are hijackable and other ones aren't. Food is somewhat hijackable. Temperature really is not. Our skin, and as much as I would love to talk about air testing and air filtration, a lot of this really comes back to trusting your body, because we are equipped with biological sensors all over the place. So if we go outside right now and 5 of us all have to write down what temperature we think it is, or indoor right now, I play this game. It's pretty cool. Most of the people will guess the temperature within 1 or 2 degrees of each other. We're all very attuned because we can feel temperature, and we all look at the weather or the thermostat every day. Thermal comfort is like that first layer of immediate survival, where you're noticing that way more than breathing the CO2. So we're pretty good at feeling temperature. We know if it's too hot or it's too cold. Humidity is sort of that next layer. So if you go into a desert or you're in a dry environment, you feel it in your throat, your hair, your skin. If you go into a rainforest, dry sauna versus a steam sauna, it's a very different experience of your sensation of humidity. So if you start looking at relative humidity every day, just as much as the weather, within 2 months, you'll know the relative humidity just like you know the temperature now. It goes deeper. So I have a little party trick I do with people. Sometimes my friends, I usually carry a carbon dioxide detector with me. So a party trick is I usually know the CO2 within about 50 parts per million, because I can feel the ease of the breath and the air entering my body. So think about it. When you say the word stuffy, if you're in a room with too many people, or an elevator or a classroom or an office, and it feels stuffy, or it's like a party and you're like, I just got to get out of here. You don't really realize what that is. But the CO2, so baseline, outdoor CO2 is between 400 and 450, indoor 550 to 800. Once it gets over 1,000, the brain fog and the fatigue are creeping in. Some indoor environments are getting to 2,000, 3,000 plus. Dry saunas, if they're not ventilated properly, often get to 5,000 plus.
Wow.
So people are getting out of the sauna thinking it's the heat. It's just the carbon dioxide is choking them out. So CO2 is a big deal. And when they do studies on grandmaster chess players, SAT scores, the test scores go up as the CO2 comes down. The game theory optimal move of the chess player improves based on the air quality. So by night, your air is your sleeping and your healing fuel, and by day, it's your thinking fuel. You can go 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air. It's literally the thing that is allowing us to continue here. So when you can actually get quite attuned with mold. So I used to be a mold inspector for almost 10 years, testing mold in thousands of homes. Once you do your first 100 and you've seen the mold data and you've seen how you feel, you don't even need to use a lab anymore. You can walk into a home and instantly know if it's mold, if it's the harmful mold. You can feel it in your lungs, you can feel it in your skin, in your eyes. So we're so attuned, but with all the fragrances and with the bad food and with all the products and with the phones and everything, we just got so numb that we lost our ability to trust ourselves.
Damn. I'm not that familiar with the literature on cognitive performance during waking hours, but I do remember reading a couple studies that have shown that people, when they ventilate their bedrooms, they tend to sleep better. Which, I mean, for me, that became like an evidence-based intervention to improve sleep quality, which we know is so important for so many health outcomes.
So I like that a Charlie Munger, when he's trying to solve problems, he goes like, think about the opposite of what you just said. Imagine what would happen to your sleep quality if we suffocated you more and more. Would your sleep improve or would it get a lot worse? So it's like, it's almost comical. Like air is like a 2x4 in the head that everyone's been sleeping on. Like you could imagine if you if you put hands over your mouth, it would be very uncomfortable. Your rest would get worse. You could naturally realize like, if you have fresher water and fresher air, you feel better, you work better, you move better, everything's just better. So I think with sleep quality, it's all about like the lowest common denominator. So if you have the best bed ever, but like it's too hot, your sleep's gonna suck. If the temperature's good, but it's vibrating and it's loud, your sleep's gonna suck. If the airflow sucks, like your sleep sanctuary needs to be dialed in. So you need fresh air, you need clean air, you need non-toxic bedding, you want it to be dark and you want it to be quiet. And if any one of those things is off, your sleep is off. So instead of thinking about how to improve your sleep, just think about how not to fuck up your sleep. Which bright lights, loud noise, all that stuff is naturally going to really decrease the quality of your sleep. So just do the opposite.
Yeah. And I also feel like today, what with the rise and prominence of, quote unquote biohackers on social media and the wellness industry in general, like I feel like people feel there's this sense that health is this mysteriously, like endlessly complex thing that has to be tended to every waking minute of the day, 15-step morning routine. But one of the things that I love about thinking about air quality is that it's passive. It's that like it's one of the few health interventions that are set it and forget it.
Laziest way to be healthy. So if you think, like that's why I love water filtration. To me, man, it's a travesty that you go to a functional medicine doctor or a personal trainer or a dietitian. But let's just say you go to your doctor, your functional medicine doctor. You're not feeling well. You got a bunch of symptoms. You don't know what's going on. They give you like 5 pages of forms to fill out. Some of these questions are ridiculous. They want to know like, what's up with your great grandma and all these things, did your aunt have herpes? Like, what does that have to do with anything right now? So it's this long form, but it didn't ask you anything about the air you're breathing at home, the very thing that's keeping you alive. Oops, we forgot that one. So it's remarkable. If someone could just put in like 80-20 of all of, to me, the first step of health is clean air in your bedroom and clean water for your drinking. Before you worry about your bath and your shower and all this other stuff, and before you're worrying about filtered air everywhere, if you can just have clean air in your sleep sanctuary, your bedroom, and filtered water when you're drinking, you're talking about and good lighting. If you can don't use artificial lights before sunrise or after sunset, clean your water when you drink it, and clean your air when you're sleeping, and you will be astonished at the changes that happen. Just do that and wait 30 days before you get on all the pills and the supplements and the routines. Because like all of the healers, what's fun about getting older and aging and experiencing is all the people that I know that were healing 7 years ago are still healing. They're always healing from something new. They're actually great teachers. It's like the therapist that's like has a crazy story, but they're really good at their job because they have so much experience dealing with their own stuff. A lot of the healers, some of them who then became influential or run practices, they're always healing from something new. That's how they're so good at it. But it's like part of their identity is always trying to play whack-a-mole with their health. And like just as they're getting better from one thing, it's another thing. And
well, that's actually, there's a term for it. It's the wounded healer effect.
All right.
It's like people struggling from mental health issues tend to go into mental health related fields. People with challenges regarding their relationship with food or their bodies tend to go into like fitness or, if you look at people in the field of dietetics, like there's a higher than the general population proportion of people that have had eating disorders or have various risk factors for having eating disorders.
Because if you look, so much of the stuff is about not being sick. I just want to deal with this sickness. Whereas if you flip the equation to be like, yo, let me just focus on thriving and being my most optimal self instead of focusing on the sickness. You get where you put your attention. So if you're constantly focusing on sick, you find a way to stay in that state. And if you're just focusing on feeling awesome, and like your body is this miraculous healing machine, But like to me, air is just so obvious because most people like we're in LA right now. $1 million doesn't do much, but you know, $1 million house is probably a small one. So let's say the average person has $1 million house and $1,000 bed. Like, what was the purpose of your home again? Isn't sleep a big part of that equation? So like maybe spend $950,000 on the house and get like $6,000 beds. Like just dial in your bedroom. I actually downsized my home twice this year. We're a family of 5. We're moving into a 2,000 square foot home. We're just designing our home to be a sleep sanctuary and a little Zen den where it's like a cozy place for the kids to sleep and us to relax after we put the kids to bed and have a little breakfast in the morning. Other than that, we'll get out and about and do our life, but then making our home this like small, intentional little sanctuary instead of a big home with lots of extra rooms, you know, the bed, the linens, don't put anything in your home unless it's intentional. You know, be careful with your paints and your flooring. And it's hard to do in a big space, but it's just so obvious. And like the amount, so 30% of, I'll talk about Jaspr for a sec because Jaspr is the only place we have the data on because we do a lot of sleep studies. We'll do one with you eventually where we give 100 people Jaspers who track their sleep and they do before and after. So 30% of people who put Jaspers in their bedroom that were snoring stopped snoring.
Wow.
Another third snores like way less, not every night or much less. And then the final third, it's like an airway issue or like it's not an air thing. No change. But for the amount of people who are like, we got a Jaspr, we were sleep divorced, and now I let my husband back in the room because he's not snoring anymore. So that one's huge. A lot of people who have seasonal allergies, which is just really messing people up, gone because your body can handle a little pollen or a little cedar fever or a little allergens for an hour or two a day when you're out and about. But when your indoor air is 5 to 10 times dirtier than outside air, they tell you when it's like a bad air day, stay inside. Where do you think the air comes from? It's not any better inside. Like even when I was here last year to do a lot of testing after the LA wildfires, the people's carpets, their pillows, like almost all the materials were completely smoke drenched.
Wow.
But you don't have the benefit of the sun, the UV light, you know, the greatest disinfectant of all time. You don't have the wind, you don't have the rain, you don't have the natural processes, the natural ozonation cleaning up your indoor space. So it's just remarkable. And it's like, I used to be involved in a lot of different things in the disaster work, but air cleaning and Jaspr in particular pulled me in so much because when I saw, and I don't know if you know this, but our first 2 years we were selling to dentists and doctors only.
I didn't know that.
We used to be called Jaspr Medical, and we were launching. Jaspr was originally supposed to be just for wildfire smoke because I used to be traveling around to wildfire zones. We'd clean up, but every time the smoke would come back, the home was recontaminated. And we would use these machines when I would do fire restoration called air scrubbers. Imagine these big, boxy machines. They're like 100 pounds and they're hideous, but they're like trucks. They make the air so clean. So when you do mold remediation, and we'll talk about mold. When you do mold remediation, you close off the room, you clean the surfaces, and you scrub the air. But scrubbers are like so big and loud and hideous. And then I looked at air purifiers in contrast, the little cute things you get at Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, a couple $100. They don't really clean the air. And they talk about 1,000 square foot, 1,500 square feet, whatever, but they don't tell you how much they clean the air. An air purifier is like incrementally cleaning the air. It's cute. It's like a freshener.
Are they just not powerful enough?
They're not powerful enough. They don't move enough air. So the scrubbers are like the badass industrial versions. They're super powerful. But when they're loud and they're ugly, now you have this giant eyesore in the middle of your room. Now you have noise pollution. So the vision for Jaspr was how do we create like a wildfire mold grade scrubber that is quiet and beautiful that my wife would allow in our bedroom. Simple as that. Make it beautiful, make it quiet. That's why Jasper's larger and taller. The footprint's not that big. That's why it's also made from steel. You know, I'm not a scientist. I was like a mold man. So I was trying to create like a restoration grade scrubber that would fit nicely into the modern home. That's why we don't have apps and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It has to be beautiful, it has to be simple, has to be designed to last a long time. And if you have a product that works really good, then it allows the business to do things like sleep studies where you can give and gift. And if people have a profound experience, then they tell everybody about it, which is why we don't really like do ads in the traditional sense. So yeah, like very few things, you take all these supplements, you're like, the red light mask. You're like, is it working? I don't know. It's supposed to work. Like the amount of like biohacks where you don't feel anything, but they're like, trust me, it's working.
Yeah. Trust me, bro. That's my source.
I like undeniable shit. So for example, a cold plunge is undeniable. I don't need to read a paper on it. You go in there, whether it's good or bad or whatever long term, feel that for yourself.
You know it, there's a state change.
It's a state change. Go into a sauna, state change. Eat food, state change. Do 10 jumping jacks, state change. Close your eye and take a few deep breaths, state change. Journal for 5 minutes, state change. A lot of the supplements, the red lights, these gadgets and gizmos at these events that people are being sold as miracle things, no state change. So if I don't feel something in my body, I'm going to start being quite skeptical. Doesn't mean some supplements and nutrients aren't great, but it's much easier when you can trust that immediate feedback loop. And like what I love about air and water, tap water, once, we all grew up pretty much drinking tap water. We weren't really aware, like last 10 years or so. And then if you think about drinking from the hose as a kid, you reflect back on it and you're like, that did taste like plastic and metal and lead, because it was.
Man.
And then once you go into filtered water.
It's my childhood right there.
Now if I give you filtered water and I give you tap water is like undrinkable. You've like reconditioned the sensors in your tongue to be like, that is not good for me. I know what filtered water tastes like. I know what that experience is like. So the biggest gift for anybody is when they can increase their air awareness, whether it's opening a window or getting out. Like if I go into a restaurant or a place with bad air, I'm out. Just like I wouldn't want to drink bad water. When you start to pay attention to your environment, you start to make much better decisions. And I always say the only bad thing that happens when you get a Jaspr is you will become an air snob. So all of a sudden, when you're going to hotels, you're going to your friend's house, your parents' house, you're like, this air feels heavy and kind of gross, and it feels like tap air. It's like tap water equivalent, and it's really hard to go back. So now I have to travel with my Jaspr. It's a little annoying, but it's worth it.
Man, but one of the things that I love about it is that it's, as you said, it's passive. And I have a mattress cooler, and it automatically tracks my sleep, which is useful. I mean, I'm kind of like, I've got 1 foot in, 1 foot out on the obsession with tracking. But it's better to me that it works that way than a wearable, because you often forget to put on the wearable, or you get tired of wearing the wearable.
Yes.
Whereas like my mattress, it's passive. So whether I'm interested in the data or not, I know that it's always there for me. Similarly with an air scrubber, with the Jaspr, I think it's so cool that it's just always on. And I also want to double click on the fact that, as you've said, nature's solution to pollution is dilution. So when you're outside and there are pollutants in the air, there's just a lot more air. And so by definition, I mean, there's ventilation when you're outside. Whereas
where does it go?
Where does it go? What, the
air,
the pollutants? I mean, it's just like all over, But inside, because buildings are becoming increasingly hermetically sealed, there's less ventilation, which is actually good from like the standpoint of your wallet, right?
Energy efficiency.
Yeah. It's not as good from the standpoint of air quality.
It started in the 70s. Prices were going crazy at the pump. So there was like an energy crisis in America in the 70s. And that's when they started to change the building codes to be like, let's make these things as tight as possible. But they forgot about the fact that the home wasn't just a money thing. People actually have to live in those things. So they made them super sealed, super tight, and they totally weren't factoring the calculations of ventilation and air quality. So now we're realizing that was a problem. The good news is you actually can have your cake and eat it too, especially in newer homes. Some states are getting better at this. There's with the regulations, because ultimately the sad truth is health has not yet been prioritized by the consumer when they're buying a home. So, you see like a new subdivision or a condo, 10,000 homes are being built. They look the exact same. They're being built real cheap and fast. 1 tree per house, same type, but it's got a nice bathroom in the kitchen and it looks great. If it said like cancer here on the front door, you'd probably stop. The sales would go down. But right now, people are not, if the awareness is not there, people cannot make informed decisions because they're not even realizing it. So what's really exciting about this is like why I love podcasting is because we can talk to people who can then make better decisions. Like these subdivision homes, be careful with those things. And over like last few years has construction cooled off and interest rates went up. Builders are like going out of business. You know who's thriving still? Healthy home builders. No shortage of demand. And really what that is, it's a longevity home. It's a home that's being designed intentionally. And these HVAC systems, HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. What I mean is furnace and air conditioner, basically, the stuff that heats and cools your home. So these things, even in a lot of custom homes, they're an afterthought. So they do the floor plans, they do the square footage, they do the layout, they do the tiles, they make it all pretty. Then like, where should we shove the HVAC? Here in the attic. In Texas, they shove them in the attics, and they don't even thermally control the attic. So you have cold air in the vent running in 100-degree attic. Drip, 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 drip. Like every attic in Texas has a mold problem.
Because that creates condensation.
Crazy condensation. Like, why wouldn't we just insulate the attic?
Bro, I had that in my last house.
Did you?
Yeah, I had the HVAC unit was in a closet, and the closet had a door. It was a normal door. It wasn't like a door with slots. And there was visible mold in my last. Yeah, like they had to open it up. My girlfriend is super sensitive, and she detected that there was she had some symptoms like when in the house, and so we had all these tests done, and they opened up the door to where the HVAC unit was, and they had to open up the HVAC unit itself, and they found visible mold. And the inspectors told me that the door was just like poorly designed for that purpose, for housing an HVAC system. It needed to have like proper ventilation. So what you're saying about the attic totally makes sense.
It's very similar to what we've now come to learn about Western medical doctors, how they were not really trained on diet and nutrition at all. So the HVAC industry, hundreds of thousands of guys who are coming to your house and installing air systems, they weren't taught about air quality. So you have a whole industry where there's people in your home that actually care, that there's just no awareness for them. So, they love selling stuff. They want to come in your home and get you a new AC. With a little awareness, they would sell everyone air filters and ventilation systems. So there's machines now called ERVs and HRVs. It's a more elegant solution if you do it when you're building a new home, but you can retrofit it later. So what that does is it basically becomes a fresh air intake. So it vents out stale air, it brings in fresh air, but it has a ceramic coil in the middle. So it's able to do it in an energy efficient way. So you get fresh air in, your home is breathing without leaking energy. It also balances humidity control. So this is like a $2,000 thing. So once again, you have these like $1 million homes and cheap HVAC systems that were an afterthought. It's all about awareness and intentional design. So it doesn't cost more money to build a healthy home. It just takes thought and care, maybe an extra month of planning. The cheapest time to do stuff is when you're building. The water filter, the air filters, like you could do a lot of stuff with just kind of being creative. Also floor plans, like the way we build homes, all of the rooms are 90-degree angles, which are like, if you think about it, there's parts of the ocean where like bays where like water gets stuck and stagnant. Corners are very stagnant. That's why dust typically accumulates in corners. The air gets trapped in the corners. That's why temperature doesn't balance very well. You want a lot more geometry in a home. Once again, it doesn't cost that much more, but when the builder is trying to build thousands of homes very quickly, cheap materials, the drywall, you see the framing of the home and it rains. Like, it's just so unthoughtful. So really, I would personally avoid those homes if you can. And if you're in them, that's when you have to look at a little bit more patchwork type of solutions. Like, get a water filter, scrub your air, make sure your vent works, bring in less toxic products into your home. If you have carpets and rugs, make sure you're getting them steam cleaned once a year. Get your ducts cleaned once a year. Like, I actually think a really cool annual tradition for people to do is a annual family deep cleaning party. It's really hard to remember. Like, nobody wants routines that are like daily, weekly, monthly. Annually, we can handle. So it's like New Year's comes, pick a day in the first week of the new year where you put on some music, order some food, and do a deep clean. Lift the mattress, move the mattress, empty out the stuff, move the couch, like clean in those. Get your steam cleaning booked, get your duct cleaning. Start the new year with a fresh, clean environment. It's just a no-brainer. And if you it's easier to make things make it a ritual. Invite your friends over, go to their home, have a big cleaning party. Nobody wants to do that all the time, but if you're just doing it once a year, will decrease a lot of that accumulation that's happened, and that's actually enough to make a big difference.
What about incense? People still burn incense, I feel like.
Whose people? Which people?
They're out there.
Where are they?
There's a market for that. You can still buy incense.
You can. I like incense. I prefer it outside by far. You still get the vibe. Like, I don't want to choke on it. So if you light incense, it's very fun. If you have incense and you have a Jaspr, put your Jaspr on smart mode and light that incense stick. And you can do it anywhere in your home. Even if you have a 4,000 square foot home and you light the incense across the house, all your Jaspers are going to go red. You're going to see the air quality go from a 5 to like 200 or 300. And you're going to see it go to critical mode. And then the air start to get scrubbed down. Vapes, incense, like incense is just like the most toxic candle of all time. So if you're doing it, open your windows a lot, do it outside, or if you are scrubbing your air and you have like a few Jaspers, you're gonna deal with the particulate. It's probably not the best way. You probably should deal with it at the source, but if you must have incense, you definitely wanna be filtering your air. Another one is the humidifier. So when it's dry, people buy a humidifier. And then if you test the air quality, so once again, if you and Jaspr has sensors on board for anyone who hasn't seen one before, but when you get it, if you start cooking, and your Jasper's on smart mode, it's gonna immediately ramp up and bring the air quality. You're gonna see it go red, bring the air down.
Happens to me all the time. That's how I know my steak is done.
That's how you know it's ready?
Yeah.
What number do you need to hit for the steak to be ready?
That's a good question. I don't know, but it goes red.
We should do a little experiment where we put a meat thermometer in and we see if that's correlated with the air quality. I bet you there's
Should I be concerned? Because I cook, a fair amount because it's one of the easiest interventions to get healthy, to achieve a healthier body composition. I mean, just eating at home more.
Yes.
But my Jaspr, which
you're dealing with it on this, like your water comes into the home dirty, but you filter it. So, there's certain things you have to treat. It's just the reality of the situation. If you drink the tap water straight, it ain't gonna make you feel very good. If you filter it or you order bottled spring water, it's gonna be better. In this home, you have like 4 Jaspers. We tested your air. Your air is in the like 95th percentile of all the homes that I see. So you got good air. Even your carpet was quite clean. So should you be concerned with cooking? Use the range hood, crack a window. But if you're opening your window and your Jaspr is going to be scrubbing it anyway, you're in a good spot. Same thing's going to happen with incense. So Jaspr is part air scrubber, but part like air quality detection system. So if you use like a really organic cleaning product, like something really clean, Jaspr won't budge. If you use like a very toxic cleaning product, it will go up. So it kind of acts as like your little toxic detection system. So water, if you have a humidifier, and you're using, often you'll see, if you turn on your humidifier, Jasper's gonna go red right away. Why? Because you're aerosolizing all of the particulates in the water. So all that water, now that it's now being aerosolized, whether it's the chlorine or the particles or heavy metals or whatever's in there, it's now being aerosolized, you're breathing it in. So then you're filtering it out. So if you use distilled water, you're good to go. So if you need to humidify your air, which is interesting because if you use like a nebulizer, you also have to use distilled water. So it's the same for a humidifier. CPAP machines also, pretty funny gadget. So people need a machine to help them breathe that forces air down their throat. And the filter is like the size of a quarter to keep like large chunks of fur out. So here we have a person that has such significant breathing issues that they need a machine to assist them to breathe. And nowhere in the equation did the doctor suggest cleaning the air in that bedroom. So they're just pumping the mold and the pollen. And I said your home is 5 to 10 times dirtier air. Sometimes it's 20 or 30, especially in the bedroom. Bedrooms can get nasty. So you're sleeping in that little sealed room and you have a breathing issue and you're just forcing it down deeper. So when we did the sleep study, a good chunk, like this is by no means a claim. By the way, when I say study, I mean community-led experiment. Like we literally ship 100 Jaspers, people track their sleep. It's a community-led experiment, not like a lab. I actually think sleep studies in labs are weird. If everyone's sleeping in those tubes, like that's already so far from your natural environment. So I prefer like community-led science, and that's what this was. So this is not like doctor data, but a handful of people, if they read the reviews on our site too, they were able to get rid of their CPAP machines because they had a lot of mold and pollen and allergens. When they removed that, they no longer needed a machine to assist their breathing.
Wow.
Babies, man. Now that I'm talking about humidifiers, made me think about babies. So this is another like crazy awareness thing. New baby comes home, and this is another tip. Another thing that pollutes air in a baby's bedroom is poop. So they buy these air sealed, they're not sealed, these diaper pail things where you're supposed to put the dirty diapers in. So think about little baby. By the way, if adults are breathing 20,000 times a day, toddlers is like 60,000 and infants is almost 100,000. The respiratory rate is very high. Their immune system is not developed yet. They're born in some sterile hospital with bright lights and a bunch of chemicals. Then they get brought home and they get put in this little nursery with a fresh coat of paint and a new off-gassing crib and a cute new rug and a bunch of little toys that are all off-gassing. So if you can, you have a baby coming, paint 6 months before, buy all the cute stuff. I usually like new stuff, but I really suggest a secondhand crib and dresser, because if you can get, first of all, those aren't porous, so you're not worried about cross-contamination. And if that new furniture can off-gas, it's already been off-gas in someone else's home. If you want to buy new stuff, put it in the nursery, open the window, or put it in your garage, let it breathe. Ideally not your garage if you're storing a bunch of chemicals, but like let it breathe. Then these diaper pails, they stink. So fun personal story, when my first daughter was born like 6 years ago, I'm like really sensitive to smells and I really pay attention to the air that I breathe. And I'm just like, one day it just clicked to me. I'm like, Rach, my wife's name, I'm like, yo, it stinks so bad in here. Is this okay? Like, can we start taking the diapers directly outside? And you know, new mom and it's stressful. She's like, you don't even know how many things I'm managing. Like, this is a lot. Okay, fine. I think for tonight has a rite of passage, because I'm like, the baby's sleeping in a poop hotbox. And rule of thumb, if it smells like poop, it is poop. And if it is poop, it's bacteria. So the baby's just like sleeping in this breeding ground of poop and VOCs. And mama loves nothing more than her baby. She's buying all the organic stuff and breast is best. She's doing it all. And meanwhile, the baby's sleeping in toxic soup. So it's all awareness, right? This was not like a cheap decision. She just wanted the nursery to be beautiful and it to be convenient and trusted that the air pail. But if you trusted your nose, you're like, wait, it smells like poop. Certainly this is not good. So I'm like, Rachel, tonight we put the diaper pail in our bedroom to see what that's like. But I will be sleeping on the couch tonight. And she's like, ooh, no, gross, absolutely not. And then it instantly clicked for her. Like, anyone out there, mom, dad, if you got a diaper pail in your baby's bedroom, put it in your room tonight. And if it's intolerable for you, imagine how it is for that cute little being who can't speak yet.
Damn. No,
Public service announcement.
So important. And that's on top of the fact that they're typically in closer proximity to the floor because they're crawling around on it. I mean, I have a cat. I don't have a baby, but...
Beautiful cat.
Yeah, she is a beautiful cat. Shout out to Delilah. But I'm concerned with, I don't take off my shoes when I enter the house. I wear my shoes all around my house.
I noticed.
Yeah, and I'm concerned, I have concerns about her health. I want her to live for as long as possible.
Aw, cat daddy.
Yeah.
That's cute, man.
Oh, I love her to death. I buy her the best food that I can find. And
well, she's got clean air. She's got good water. She's got good food. So would it be, so first of all, are you wearing the shoes inside for convenience or for comfort?
Convenience.
Convenience. You just don't want to take them off.
Correct.
I see.
I feel like I'm in and out of my house a lot. Like I go for walks as much as I can. So just like the whole process, it's tedious to me.
Is there like potentially like a more convenient on-off shoe for some of the local walking? Or are you specific about these shoes?
They're comfortable.
Maybe
it's just laziness.
It's laziness.
Yeah.
Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
So we called it convenience. Convenience and laziness are right here together. So maybe not for you, but maybe for Delilah, it would be worthy of taking off your shoes.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
She would really appreciate it.
One of the most exciting studies that I read recently, I shared this with my newsletter, and this was like months ago. I think this was published before we even met, but it was a study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology that found that just having a HEPA air filter in the home led to a small but significant drop in systolic blood pressure for people with mildly elevated hypertension, mildly elevated blood pressure, which I thought was like so fascinating and it was like tested against a sham. So there was like a control group that had a sham, it was just like an air blower. But the group,
funny.
Yeah, but then the group that had the air purifier in their homes, they had it in in the two rooms that they would spend the most amount of time. So I think it was like the bedroom and the living room. But they found about a 3 millimeter of mercury reduction in their systolic blood pressure, doing nothing else but having a HEPA purifier in the home.
Laziest way to be healthy. So let's say we flip that experiment and we create a third group where we put lots of bottles of Windex and some pollution and some garbage bags and some poop, and there's already mold and pollen, and we ramp up the level of indoor pollutants. How do you think that group is going to perform? That's why the places in the world that have cleaner air have way less health issues. Like they say air pollution is the #1 cause of death in the world. It's like in the hundreds of millions of people all over the world, like India and China and Indonesia and Africa. Like places with bad air, people are like shockingly sick. And now air is getting worse and worse. So it's funny when you think about like cleaner air, the air purifier is fixing them. It's like, no, the stuff that shouldn't have been there was making them sick. And we just remove that. The whole goal of Jaspr, it's why our logo is a tree, It's to make air indoors as close to the way nature intended it. So Jaspr is a mountain in Alberta, Canada, north of Banff and Lake Louise, where it has some of the cleanest air in the world. Companies literally bottle the air there and sell it to China and India in cans so they can get a whiff of that clean mountain air.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the bottled air industry is a thing. So for us, it was like, you should be able to have that air at home. Lazy and passive is good. So there was a study. You know we're opening a school in September, right?
No.
You don't?
No, I had no idea.
Oh, man. So yeah, we are. One of the things
Congrats, that's huge.
it's going to be huge. You can
Where?
in Austin.
Wow.
The goal is to create the healthiest school in America. So there was a study done in Finland, a couple of them, a few years ago. Broadly, 30%, when they put an air purifier in half the classes across a bunch of different schools, there was a 30% decrease in absentee rates for teachers and students. So we just start cleaning the air a little bit. These were no scrubbers, just air purifiers, and they had a significant decrease in absentee rates. And if you think about it, what is the true cost of a sick child? One child means 5 sick child, means sick parents, means sick siblings, work is canceled, trips are canceled. Like a sick kid is a significant thing. So when my daughter turned 2, we had just moved to Austin from Canada. We put her in a little daycare school thing. They had the Glade plugins, the fresheners. It stunk. And every day when I would pick her up, I would unplug the fragrance. And every day they would put another one back in. I would hide it in more inconspicuous places and they would keep plugging it back in. I'm like, if only they would have that attention to detail with the rest of the operation, but they were masters at that plug-in. And man, so she was 2 and a bit and she was not bubble wrapped. We were traveling and doing stuff and staying in hotels. She was constantly, chronically sick. Green boogers and coughs, and then mama's sick, and then, she's tired. It was a vicious cycle. And I went to the school. I'm like, guys, let's put Jaspers in these classrooms. In fact, you guys have a few campuses. I want to put Jaspers in like half of the schools and half of the classrooms. And like, let's do some science here and see if the absentee rates drop. We actually moved her to another school because they were just difficult to deal with. And we put Jaspers in her classroom. Like there was 2 in each class. I think they had a couple classrooms. So we put like 5 in the building. It was a small school. And man, she instantly stopped getting sick. Instantly. So if you think about like why is a kid getting, they were very viciously wiping down the surfaces with chemicals at night. That wasn't the problem. But if you think about how a school is designed, if you wanted to design a building to make people as sick and tired as possible, they pretty much nailed it with schools. So they're tight, the windows don't breathe, they recirculate stale air, they have horrible lighting quality, they don't get outside very much, they're forced to sit in chairs, they're using harsh toxic cleaning products, they have unfiltered water. You're like, perfect. You guys nailed it. And all you had to do was clean the air and fix the lighting and let the kids stand up a little bit. So when I saw that study, and I was just very unsatisfied with my kids' school, either they were like in a forest nature school where they're playing outside and the vibes were good, but they weren't really learning anything, or they'd be in like a more rigid environment where they're like learning lots, but they're not outside and playing. I'm like, can't you have both? So the school is called Kindling Academy. It's in Austin. We're going to start small our first year. So what are we doing? Of course, there's going to be 2 Jaspers in every class. There's going to be like skylights and good natural lights. We'll supplement with some good circadian rhythm lighting. We're going to have filtered water, non-toxic cleaning products, outdoor by default. So a lot of beautiful little outdoor spaces and outdoor classrooms, a lot of, movement. It'll be Montessori based, and then move to project-based learning as the children get older. What's fun about this, so the first year will be like ages 3 to 9, and then we're gonna extend it. You know anything about Montessori?
I do not know. I mean, I'm familiar with the term, but
so it's a really amazing way to teach children.
It's like bespoke, right? It's like very custom to the student, to the kid.
It means right now, by the way, the curriculum actually means it's a track. So curriculum is like a racetrack where everyone's going in a circle together. Montessori, started by Maria Montessori about 100 years ago, realized, give me 30 years, give or take, that kids learn at different paces. So it's more progress-based. So if one kid is advancing much faster in reading or writing, and they realize like kids don't have like the abstract mind to like do computation in their head, so everything is in the physical, tactile form factor. Really amazing, beautiful philosophy. Some of the most greatest thinkers come from there. And it's fun for the kids because they're never measured against their peers, but they learn a lot. And if you're moving, and they there's the rainbow drawers and it's gamified and it's really cool. But the concept was the environment is the teacher. But by environment, they meant low desk, low chairs, low sinks, small bathrooms, like a child-size environment. So our thing is like, how do we take it to the next level? If the environment is the teacher, guys, just air and water and lighting get missed in the environmental equation. So now we're basically going to do Montessori, but healthy. We're going to work with some real doctors and scientists just to make sure we're doing proper documentation of health symptoms and absentee rates. The vision is not to go create a big business out of it. It's to open source everything that we're doing. I think the kids are going to perform amazing. They're going to learn great. And then we're going to share our playbook of exactly what we're doing. We also started to gift Jaspers to schools all around the Austin area. So then we're going to make sure those schools are also tracking their absentee rates now that they have Jaspers. It's going to be a no-brainer. It's going to be so obvious. We want to create such undeniable mounting evidence, and Austin's the perfect place to do it. So then more private schools can get the note, but ideally, so public schools are funded based on attendance. So there's like, I don't know about all the states, I live in Texas, there's these things called truancy laws. So if you go on like a lot of vacations and if you take your kid out of school more than like 2 weeks in a semester or whatever, you like get in trouble. Like the parents are like in trouble. They're like, it's a problem, you can't do it. Because the school is funded on attendance. So it's if any time it's hurting their wallet, they're paying attention.
Interesting.
So if we can increase attendance, that's actually great for the bottom line. So right now, health is seen as a cost, but it's actually an investment that even if you look at it from a money perspective, by having a healthy environment, if the kids and the teachers are thriving, we're not hiring substitute teachers, they're in their chairs, they're feeling good, the attendance rates are up, their funding's gonna go up. All of a sudden, they're gonna realize that clean air and water and improved lighting is a very profitable move, and they're gonna see it increase test scores. So instead of me shouting from the rooftops that everybody should do it, how about we put our money where our mouth is? I happen to own an air cleaning business and have young children. So I believe that there's like, as an entrepreneur with a heart and a mind, if there's anything that I'm complaining about, what can I do about it? Little school in the neighborhood, clean air, let's see what happens. Let's document it properly. So yeah, that's starting in September. When you come to Austin, we'll take you for a little tour.
That's so exciting. Dude, you unlocked a core memory for me. I've never shared this. I haven't even thought about it in like decades. But when I went to my first high school in New York City, I went to public school my whole life. And I went to a high school in New York called, ironically, the High School for Environmental Studies. And I remember part of the allure.
You were the study.
I was the study. Part of the allure of that high school for me was that it was air conditioned, which for a public school in New York City, very, very alluring because New York gets really hot in the summer. And I went and I distinctly remember, like I felt like I wasn't breathing properly in the school. Like I felt like I had brain fog. I felt like, I forget how it was stuffy. Like just walking around the halls and sitting in the classrooms it was a really stuffy environment. So much so that I transferred out of it. Like I really did not feel good in that school. And that's when I went ultimately it was like I lasted a few weeks and then ultimately I transferred to the high school that I ended up, spending all 4 years in and graduating from the lab school in New York City.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Graduating high school, big achievement. But it was explicitly because of what I perceived as poor air quality, and I wasn't even
thinking about it.
I wasn't even thinking about it. But I did have a sensation that I wasn't breathing properly in that school.
Well, it makes sense that your life path has taken you in a way where paying attention. Now, there was something in there. Not everybody transferred out.
No.
If everybody was so attuned, there wouldn't have been a school because nobody would have gone there.
I complained to my mom about it, and she pulled me out of there, and I ended up going to the lab.
Good job, Mom.
Yeah, it was crazy. That's wild, man.
Yeah, and like offices, stuffy, schools, no good, prisons, horrible. And it's like you want to reform these men and you're putting them in mold boxes? This is not the right way to rehabilitate people. And it's funny, if at least a maximum security prison, they get an hour outside every day, which is more than the average American. Come on. So yeah, there's the whole purpose of me being here was really at the core is to like make air is about 20 years behind water quality on general awareness. The gap feels like about 10 years now. I feel like kind of COVID and wildfires is sort of bridging the gap here. And the problem was for me, we had scrubbers and we had purifiers. I'm like, and I was doing testing, man, it sucked. I would charge, it wasn't cheap to do testing. You'd go into the home, they pay their money, you give them a test that's not that great, honestly. So if we test your house for mold in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, tomorrow, we're going to get wildly different results each time.
Interesting.
It's just spot testing. So it's really inaccurate. We have such a little...
It's like very labile. It's like taking like a blood test, like at a random point in the day. It's
random
like,
point in time.
Yeah.
And
like your blood sugar. Like your blood. Think about how wildly your blood sugar
So imagine,
swings.
so man, people send me their like cousin or their mom's mold results. Like, what should she do? Should she like move out? What should she do? I'm like, I'm like, hey, my wife got blood work done. What should she do? And you're like, I'm like, the levels are really high. And she's like, you're like blood sugar. You're like, what should she do? You're like, yo, there's a few more questions to be asked. There's a few more tests. How's she feeling? How's she doing? I haven't even seen her. So the way that like the lab, so it's wild. The functional medicine doctor doesn't talk to the home inspector, doesn't talk to the lab. It's completely fragmented. And they're each just like running, for you get supplements and binders. For you, we're going to demo your whole house. So like 3 people are prescribing very different things. The lab doesn't even have any of the nuance. They're just looking at it through a microscope. So it's quite sad. And what I am just excited about is raising air awareness, whether it's cracking the window, paying attention to wildfire smoke. And, I'm excited to do more stuff with you.
Yeah.
What I love about Jaspr, they called me a yo-yo-preneur in my 20s because I was always doing new things. And like, Jaspr's now almost 7 years, like 10 years since I started the process of designing it. And this is like a lifelong thing for me. This is not a short term. There's no exit strategy. We're not building it to sell it. We're building it to do good things with. The fact that it can fund things like the school, like sleep studies, all kinds of cool stuff. Like if there's ever fun studies you want to run, we want to do them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want people to know from my end also that this is not just like a fleeting interest of mine. Like air pollution is now it's a well-recognized modifiable risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. Like I don't know how much you know my story, but my mom had dementia for many years, and I'll never know what caused her dementia, but trying to understand the myriad modifiable risk factors has become my life's work, and it's something that I'm going to be interested in, for as long as I'm around. And air pollution is now a newly recognized modifiable risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. We've done a number of episodes on the show about the connection between airborne toxicants and risk for Parkinson's disease, because again, the nose is the front door to the brain. So I mean, I can't emphasize enough how important I think this topic is, and whether it's PM 2.5 in the outside environment or the volatile organic compounds that we're exposed to in our homes. I just think it's like, it's crucial that we continue to raise awareness about this.
And it's the laziest way to be healthy, but obviously everything comes at a cost. There's a price for good things. So the way we design Jaspr is, people buy the machine up front, which by the way, at the end of this, I'll give the audience the homie special. You buy the machine once, and then yes, you have to change the filters twice a year, because really the filter is what you're really buying. People think about it like, I have to replace these consumables. Like, no, the filter is the star of the show. That's the magic of the operation. The vessel that you see is supposed to be a beautiful housing to pass air through it in an aesthetic way. It's a beautiful fan and a motor that sits tightly. Like, don't think about the machine as the product, it's the filter. So our filter is 4.5 pounds. The average filter is like 0.5 pound. It's industrial grade by design. So the way that, if you buy a Jaspr, let's say, if it doesn't work, $1 is too much money. But if it radically improves your sleep and your cognition and your healing time, then a little over $1 a day is one of the cheapest things you could ever invest in. And it took me a while to realize that. Like, once you buy it, filters are $3.98 a year. So a little over $1 a day, even if you have a few of them in your home, for a few bucks a day, like you can barely get a water bottle these days for that. Your whole family is going to breathe 95% cleaner air typically. And just let that, people think about compounding with investing. Your health compounds too. So that toxic burden just comes down, your body can heal more. And then the way we designed, because Jaspr works so good, usually people know in like 1 week, it's a no-brainer. They have it on smart mode in their living room. They see it when they're cooking, they're like, whoa. Or they put it in their bedroom on fan speed 3 on dark mode. That's where the undeniable crazy sleep improvement happens. If at any point in the first month, if it's not radically changing your life and your sleep and the dust isn't down, then what we do is we buy it back off the customer for full price. So what we do, we say, just keep your box for the first 30 days. We give them a shipping label because, it costs like $100 to ship a big item. So we give them the shipping label. We give them all their money back. and we take the machine back. And then the units that we take back, those are the ones we change out the filter, and then those are the units that we gift to schools and to local places in Austin. It's like a perfect circular economy. And our return rates are like 3-4%. So I love like a try before you buy type of concept. So it's like radically changes your sleep, cheap, keep it. If it doesn't, take it back. It doesn't cost you $1 and you don't have to leave your house. So it's so awesome for me to be advocating for a business and a product that works so good that you can de-risk it 100% for people. That feels good.
Super. Well, where can people learn more? How can they grab one? How can they connect with you on social media? And yeah, what is that homie discount?
So today is June 17th, 2026. It's a beautiful day. So code GENIUS between today, June 17th, and June 30th is going to be $300 off. So normally a Jaspr is $11.99. It will be $8.99. Whether you buy 1 or 4, that discount will apply per Jaspr. That is the same, that's been our Black Friday sale historically. We only do sales like pretty much at Black Friday, but we'd like to do it this way better because I realized there's a lot of things I only buy when there's an incentive or I just put it off forever. So it's not about scarcity and timing. It's like when you have an incoming amount of awareness and you're like, damn, and 60% of our customers had crappy little air purifiers before that did nothing. And it's sad because then they thought the air wasn't the issue. It is. And so what we're doing is, so it goes from $11.99 down to $8.99 from June 17th today till the end of the month. This will be done June 30th. Forever after that, code GENIUS will always be $200 off. So if the next 2 weeks ain't your time, that's okay. That code will always be there. The last couple of years at Black Friday, we got sold out last year, but 3 weeks, the year before, 2 months. So if improving your air and your sleep and your health is on your mind, and if you believe me and trust me enough to give it a shot, then code GENIUS starting today until June 30th will be $300 off. The website is jaspr.co, jaspr.co, jaspr.co. And yeah, but at the end of the day, like guys, I hope you pay attention to your air, open your windows, don't bring your shoes in like Max. And thanks for listening.
I do have 4 Jaspers in my home though. Is that am I mitigating the the damage somehow?
A lot. Your air is good, your carpets are clean, your kitty's happy and thriving. But you should still take your shoes off.
No, you're right. You're not the first person to have told me that. My girlfriend tells me that all the time, actually.
Today's the day.
Well, Michael, thanks for coming in, man. I've got, and are you on social media in case people have like follow-up questions and stuff? Like
they figure that part out.
Yeah.
I figure like we'll do like a post and you'll find me, or we'll do something when the podcast comes out.
Sounds good.
Google Jaspr, type in on Instagram.
Jaspr.co. Code GENIUS.
Code GENIUS for $300 off.
Until the end of the month.
And the end of the month.
And then in perpetuity, you get $200 off, which is great. The last question that gets asked everyone on the show, what does living a genius life mean to you?
To me, a genius life is living a life in the truest form that feels true to you and not living life the way that you think you're supposed to do it. So naturally, I'm a passive guy, the clean air, the clean water. But to me, a genius life starts local. So start local with your community, with your neighbors, with your family. Like get off the screen. It means having a company and a business that's not remote, in real life, in person, no Slacks, minimal Zooms, real people, in person, living a life with connection and community and fun being prioritized. To me, that is the ultimate health and wellness hack. It's in real life experiences. So to me, a genius life is a present life.
Love it. Well, thanks for coming out, dude.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for...
Thanks for listening, y'all. Send it to a friend who breathes it. Any air breathers you know out there, pass it along.
Any air breathers. Thanks for the education. Thank you for cleaning the air in my home, and thank you for remaining evidence based and creating rock star technologies and keeping the air clean for us all. Thanks, guys, for listening. Share this episode with friends and loved ones that may benefit from it, and I will catch you on the next episode. Peace. Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.